Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. We're going to be continuing the discussion from last week, and we are going to sit down with our white adoptive parent who's going to ask some questions to our black birth parents. She's going to be talking about what we refer to as the talk. Now let's turn to our panel discussion.
It starts at infancy. I think that Samai, Asia, and Sierra probably know that you probably don't remember a time that race was discussed in your family. It always was. For white people, it feels very different, right? When do you bring it up? And I think one of the other big assumptions, Rich and Lynn, you might connect to this, is people always say, well, why are we presenting something to our children about, I want to keep their innocence. I want to hold their innocence a little longer. And so there's this juggle of when do I talk to my child about the real things versus when do I keep allowing them to flow through as though the world is this beautiful place and there aren't things that we have to combat. I think it's different in the cultural households, white households versus black households, but raising black children, we have to have these conversations from infancy. I mean, so do you, Asia, Samai, do you recall your first conversation about race? How did that with your children or from your parents?
I don't recall my first conversation, to be honest, but I do know the thing that my mom always taught me. She said she wants me to have a childhood, but she doesn't want me to be naive.
Right.
So at the same time as her telling me, and I've been having these conversations all my life, so I don't remember my first one, but everything that she was trying to prepare me for, at the same time, she was like, this is what's happening. And as soon as it got too deep or as soon as it got to a certain level, then she'd be like, okay, now we're going to come back to this later, but I need you to be a kid for a minute. And she was like, I need you to remember at the end of it all, you're still a child, but you need to be aware. So when I did get older, I never felt like I didn't know anything that was happening because I had this amazing childhood. It's like I did have an amazing childhood, but I still knew what to look out for. I still knew that I can't just do anything and everything that I wanted, and that's whether being black or just being an adult, period. So it's like I never felt completely blindsided about things that were happening. And I think that makes a difference with just educating your child. And you don't have to take their innocence away just by education, because knowledge is really power. It really is. Knowledge will get you so far. And even as a child, when they're confronted with a situation, they can still be happy-go-lucky, like ha ha ha, but they're not putting themselves in danger per se. They're not putting themselves in more harm's way, and then they could go right back on to scraping their knee riding on a bike. So it doesn't really take away, in my opinion.
Well, and in the transracial adoption course that our agency teaches, there's a video where they talk about this same topic. They call it the talk that black parents have to have with their black children of how to be prepared in the world, especially today, and what steps you have to take, and how it's just different when you're walking down the street, or you're walking into a convenience store and you have a hood up, and the differences that you face as a black individual versus a white individual. And as white people, you have that privilege of not having to have that talk with your child, of when they're pulled over by a cop on the road and what to do and how to react and your body language. We were never taught that because we didn't have to be taught that. And I think that's kind of where Christy was going with this conversation, is how do you guys feel as black individuals in teaching your children? Like, what advice can you offer some of our white folks of what they can prepare their black children for? Sierra, I think you had your hand raised. Did you want to add something?
My mom kind of pushed me to be better because she knew at that time, like, my best probably wasn't good enough. So as a child, like Asia had her mom like tell her what's going on, and then kind of reeled her back into being a child. My mom like pushed it up until I was like in high school. Like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to be good because you'll get overlooked. From my own personal experience of being that child in that household where I was always told, you're always going to be overlooked because you are a Black girl. And to always like push myself to do 180% instead of the 100% that I thought, oh, this is good, I'm doing really good. And then when I grew up, it was kind of like, oh, I missed out on my whole childhood because I was trying to be the best student, the best person in my neighborhood. Like, I was always trying to be that person that someone could look at and say, oh, that's Sierra, not, oh, that's that little Black girl. The conversations do need to be had. As a parent, you'll know when the conversations need to be had. You know when your children are going to go out into the world and see things. So it's kind of like, you gotta take that parental instinct and roll with it. Stuff like that. Teach them to be kind. Treat people how you want to be treated. Still, even though, and you gotta let them know, like, you'll run into people who are gonna be mean to you to them, no reason. So I'm like, people are gonna be mean, but don't be mean back. Recently, it's like, it's not that we don't want to be mean back to their level. It's because if we are mean back, we're gonna be seen as the aggressor, no matter what. Even if someone like said something mean to me and I say something mean back, it's going to be taken a different way because I'm Black. It's going to be seen as I'm the mad Black lady at this point, and then it turns into a whole different situation. So just because of that, again, I was told to my daughter, be nice. It's like, even if someone's be mean, walk away, be nice, keep calm, count to 10, whatever you got to do. Don't attack, because that's what it's going to look like you're doing, even if you're just retorting. So it's little stuff like that. But again, that's something that I had to experience young, and then growing up, and then seeing it happen out in the real world. So it's like all this stuff that I definitely has. I want my daughter to know most of everything that I went through, so she also doesn't get in that situation, or at least so she knows how to handle it later on. And then as she gets older, I'm going to progressively get to those things because I know what she's going to be seeing as she gets older. But I'm not going to like throw everything at her all at once because, again, she's still a child.
Thank you, Sierra. Rich, have you and Jamie started kind of discussing, Mila's still very young, but like some of these topics of how you're going to plan on raising her and preparing her?
Yeah, so I think everything that everybody mentioned, I think, is apropos. The fact that you can't teach a 2-year-old that you need to be on a call and please be quiet. Like, you're not going to be able to teach them the major differences between the racial issues in America today. And I think the point about, knowing the age and what's appropriate, personally, we've been trying to just, introduce her to the fact that, like the picture behind me, books, pictures, there are differences in our colors, but it's just, I guess, and maybe I'm naive in this, it's not the colorblind piece, it's more I want her to know, like, the fact that, she is a Black girl being raised by 2 white parents, that's okay. Like, it's different. It's not the norm in society. It's okay. And this is just your life. And then gradually introduce her to things as she gets older and she's able to understand some of those concepts.
Thanks so much, Rich. As you clearly can see, there's a lot left that has to be talked about. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.